The next thing we might want to do is sync our delay time with the metronome mark and use things like eighth notes or quarter note triplets or 16th notes, dotted 16th notes, those different kinds of values. So whatever the delay is actually synced in time with a beat that we have in our piece. And so there's a couple ways that we can do this. The first thing we'll actually need to do is talk about Max's time value system. So this is just from some Max documentation. And so the time value syntax, basically this is a way to convert things like milliseconds to hours and samples and frequencies into ticks and note values and bars and beats and units. And so the thing we're concerned about is this table of ticks and note values. So we're going to use these abbreviations to determine note values, and we're going to convert then these ticks into milliseconds and things like that. So for instance, 1 is a whole note, 2 is a half note, 4 is a quarter note, 8 is an eighth note. And then we have, so for instance, an ND followed it by it means a dotted note, and N is just a note, and an NT means a triplet. So 2ND means dotted half note, 2N just means a half note, 2NT means a half note triplet. So now we're back in we're in patching mode. So I've put these here as a reminder. So what we're going to do is, again, N equals a note. So for instance, an eighth note. NT equals a triplet note. For instance, an eighth note triplet. And ND equals a dotted note. For instance, a dotted eighth note. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a live menu. So we can actually select note values from a menu. This will be handy in a performance setting. So I'll create a new object and hit live, and then go to live menu right down here. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and open up the inspector. Okay, and then we're going to go way down here, and what we want to do is we're going to edit the range in enum. So right now it's set to 1, 2, 3. This is the default. So we're going to click on edit, and we're going to change these numbers. So I'm going to select everything and hit delete. And so I'm going to type the number 1 for a whole note, and then N, and I'm going to hit space. And then I'm going to do a half note to N, and then space. I'm going to do 4, and then I'm going to do so 4 for quarter, and we'll do ND for dotted quarter, see? And then we'll do quarter note for N, space. And then a quarter note triplet would be for NT. So what I like to do is I like to do this in decreasing note values. So whole notes, half notes, a dotted quarter note triplet, and then we can do dotted eighth note, 8 ND, space, eighth note, space, and then eighth note triplet, and space, and then let's go up to 16th notes. So we'll do dotted 16th, 16th ND, space, 16th note, space, and 16th note triplet. And we're done. And okay, so that's all set. So we can close up the inspector now. And so now we can, whoops, I can adjust the size of this a little bit. So I'll bring this a little bit layer, make it a little bit smaller. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to translate these note values into milliseconds. So what we'll do is we'll actually send this for right now into the delay time. So then either we can set the note value and just hit this, or if we want to adjust it to be whatever delay time, we can just adjust the delay time object. So, but to do this, what we're going to need to do is add a new object. So n, and I'm going to try translate and space. So there's our translate object. And then I'm going to hit space. And now we're going to give an argument, and we're going to say note values space ms. So what this will do is it'll convert these note values, our the max time value syntax, right? And what we want to use is, you'll see there's a few different outlets here. This is the live menu item index. This is, the middle one is the actual item symbol. And then the far left one is the raw value. So I'm going to make this just a little bit, right? So we want to use this middle outlet to go into translate. And then I'm going to go and connect this to delay time. And so we are finished with that. That's all we needed to do. So let me, well, the last thing I'll want to do actually is let's select this object again, this live menu, and the inspector, and go up and include this in presentation. Close this up. And actually, I'm going to keep this comment box as just a reminder to what these note values are. So I'll include this in the presentation. So let me click on this. So if you want to add this, all this is up here, there's a comment box. And so you can add any kind of comment you want. Right now, the default is this dark text. That's really hard to read. So I'll just click on it, go to the inspector, and you can change the text color to be whatever you want, you know, and then close it up. And so now it's a little bit more legible. So that's what I just did here, is this is just a comment box with this information. And I'll just put this, well, so I'll just click on it, hit inspector, and say include in presentation, and then close that up. And now go back to presentation mode, put this, I'll put it down here below it, and add this here. So I will remember what those ends, NT and ND mean. So, and you can write any kind of message you want in a text box. All right, I will lock the patch. I will save it. And I'll close. So now what we can do is we can adjust our tempo. And as we adjust the tempo, it will adjust this delay time when we start playing things. So I hit 8th note, and you can see it's changed this. And if I adjust the tempo, right, it's also adjusting this time, which is really handy. If I turn on my metronome, so it's doing 8th notes right now. Let me do quarter notes. That's really hard to hear. Let's do quarter note triplets. I'll bring back the feedback a little bit. I'll do dotted 16th notes. And if I want to just change the delay time itself, I can just do this. And as I do that, now we're kind of set. And if I change my tempo, oh my goodness. So do you see how it actually like reverts back? So this is problematic. So actually, our next step is going to be to maybe set something up. So, sorry, turn that off. So that's problematic. So what we want to do then is be able to maybe set up something where I can use either time or I can sync this up with the metronome. Otherwise, if I try to adjust the time, it's going to automatically go back to whatever this is set to. So that's not good. So that'll be our next step in terms of programming, is just to set a little sort of almost like a filter for this to turn to either sync time or sync it with a metronome. So I'll show you that next. So to be able to alternate back and forth between either using delay time or syncing to a metronome, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put my delay time over here. I'm going to disconnect this where we're doing the note values from there, right? So we're going to delete that. So I'm going to move this up here. So I'll put my feedback out of the way a little bit here too. So we're either going to go from, we're either going to do delay time, or we're going to do the note value. And so actually what we're going to do then is from here, from translate note value, I'm going to send this all the way down to tap out. And so now what we want to do is activate or deactivate one or the other. And so that's what this area up on top here is. So I'm going to talk about this P active area, which we're going to build here in a second. I'm going to explain that. But then there's also this little kind of live menu box here, which I want to talk about this. So I'm going to click on this and get help on this. So this is a live text box. And what a live text box does is it's a little box that can either just send a bang like this, or we can also have little messages like on and off. And so you can see as I click on this, when it lights up, for instance, it sends a message of 1 out the left outlet, or this message on to here. And then it's interesting, it doesn't send anything on the way out. So it's either just a 0 or a 1. And so what I can do is I can use that to turn on or off different parts of our patch. And there's this little button up here, this toggle box actually, which does the same thing. This actually sends a message of 1, which turns this on, which then sends a message 1 here, or does 0 and 0. So let me show you how this is going to work. What we want to do is let me actually do this from, I'm going to do all of this from scratch. So I'm going to hit a new live text box. So I'm going to click on my new live text object. I'm going to go way down here, scroll down to the range enum, and I'm going to click on this and change it to be time or sync. And what I can also do if I want is, whoops, I can scroll back up and I can change the background color of when things are active or deactive and things like that. So this can be really handy. Let me show you how I did it with this object here. So what I did is when it's active, it turns orange or red for like the time. And then for the second argument, for sync, it turns green. So you can do whatever you want here. So I'll do, so what I'll do is the background color, I'll click on this and maybe make it like, I don't know, red or something like that. And then when it's sync, I'll make it green. All right, cool. And actually I forgot one thing. What I need to go is go way down here to the bottom. And so the automation off label is so time and sync. And when you need the text label, this is what's actually going to appear right here. Right now it's set to A and B. We want to change this to be the same. So we'll go time and sync. And I think that's it. So we can close this off. And so now if I lock the patch and click on it, I get time or sync, time and sync. And you can see if I add an integer box and just collect this to here and lock the patch, you can see the message either sends a message of 1 when it's synced or 0 for time. So this is what we're going to use to turn on or off either of these things. So let's do that next. Actually, there's a message box here, so let me do this. So I'll add a new max object, I'm going to say load mess. So load message space 0. And if I connect this to the inlet of time, what this will do is when I load this patch, whenever I load this patch first, it'll automatically start with time as the default. If you wanted to start with syncing it to the metronome, then you could change this to load mess 1, and then it would automatically set this to sync. Okay, the last step we need to do is just build this patcher object. So P is also short for patcher. Let me just open this up and show you what is going on here. So this is a little complicated. So we're going to have an inlet and then 2 outlets, one going to our delay time versus then our syncing. And so what we'll do is if we send, we're sending out either a 0 or a 1. And so what we're going to do is if we send out a 1, a 1 will trigger this toggle box, right? Which then I'm going to send this down here. And the first thing I'm going to do is send a message called active 1. So what this means is first I'll activate or deactivate the object, the live dial or the live menu, right? So what we want to do is activate or deactivate these. So that way, I don't want this being activated when I'm using time and vice versa. So that's why I'm using this active message. And that gets sent out first. And then, right, so if it receives a 1, it's an active 1. If it receives a 0, it's an active 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the same message, send it into this select object, which what it does is SEL means select 1. When it receives a 1, it sends out a bang to then now activate that. So that's step 2, activate, deactivate, message is sent. We send a bang to send the parameter of the object's activated live dial or menu, right? So whatever this is set to. So, and then we're doing the opposite on this end. So all of this is exactly the same, except there's this little object here, a double equal sign and 0. What this means is we're going to compare 2 values, in this case 1 and 0, and we're going to output 1 if the value equals 0, and output 1. This is really confusing. All right, we're going to output 1 if the value equals 0, and then output 0 if it equals 1. So we're just inverting the 0 and the 1 in this case. So, and we want to do that because if we send a 1 over here, we want 0 over here, and if we send a 0 over here, we want 1 over here to activate and deactivate these different patches. So what we want to do is we just want to duplicate all of this, not like this, in a subpatcher. So let me show you how to do that. So let me just move. So I'll unlock the patch, create a new object, and whoops. So N, and now if I just hit P for patcher, you can see it creates as a subpatch. So it's a nice handy shortcut. Saves me from having to write patcher all the time. And I'll call this same as this other one. I'll call it active. And now it opens up this new. And so now we're just going to duplicate what's over here. So first thing I want is an inlet and an outlet. And we want 2 of these. Now we will add from the top a new object equal, whoops. Nope. Equal, and then space 0, 0. I'll grab a toggle box from up here. 1, and whoops. An option click drag to copy that. And now N, and then SEL space 1. And let me duplicate that over here. I will add now. So I'm going to add a message box. So I can click on this up here. So here is a message box. And what I'm going to write active space $1. And so this is so it takes whatever the variable is that's coming into it and sends it. And I'm going to duplicate that, option, click, drag. And the last thing is I need a bang, which there's a bang right up here. So a bang button. And I'm going to add this below the select. We don't really need this, but it's nice I like to be able to see everything that's going on. So now we just connect all of this. So we're going to go, let's do this left side first. I'm going to go from the inlet into the left, or the outlet of this, this inlet box. I'm going to go into the left of equal 0, and I'm going to go from there into the toggle box, into select 1, into bang, and then to the outlet. And then I'm also going to go from the toggle box here to the left inlet of the active 1 and go down to the outlet. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here to here, go select 1, bang, to the outlet, and active, and go to outlet 2. So now I can lock that, close it up. And the last thing we just need to do is connect our time. So this is, so remember, this is going to send, if I add an int, right, if I click on it, it'll send either zeros or ones. So that's exactly what we want. So we connect this to this P active subpatcher. This is for time. This is for syncing. I'll delete all this stuff. And I will, let's see, I want to add this to my presentation. So info, go up and make sure I include in presentation. I've already included all this stuff in my presentation. So I will go to presentation, move my time over here so I can then go back and forth between either, unlock it, so I can either select sync and this will now change my time, or I can do time and then use the time to change it and it won't do this. So let's see if this works. So make sure to save your work. Okay, so I'm back on Max now. Now I can see everything. Here's my time versus syncing. And so that's awesome. And you can see actually when I do this, it kind of deactivates. I can't even hit this, right? Well, it won't affect it, right? So let me hit time and now play this. Add some feedback. And what do I mix? So there we go. We've really built our a delay line with control over delay time with time and or syncing it to a beat. We've also got feedback and wet dry mix. Again, just to, again, this is mono right now. So probably what would be really cool is to duplicate delay time and feedback for separate left and right. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated now because again, we've got these different, you know, active. And so what we'll want to do is just make sure that if we have delay time left and right, that we send this to both of those, right? So imagine you had all of this. Again, we're going to duplicate all of, yeah, if we want separate control over left and right, you'd duplicate just all of this stuff. And so that way you'd have control over the left delay time and feedback versus then the left synced time and feedback versus then right sync time or right just delay time. So yeah, so that's actually a good thing to see if you can try to figure out on your own. See if you can make something that's actually a stereo delay with separate control, delay time left and right, synced as well left and right, and feedback left and right. So good luck with that.